My parents are the richest people in Asia, but I am homeless and sleep under the bridge every day. When I am hungry, I fight with stray dogs for food. In this way, I went from being a 200-pound nobleman to 130 pounds, looking like a down-and-out homeless person. All this happened because 4 years ago, I was dissatisfied with my father marrying me to Zhao Min, the daughter of the Zhao group, so I ran away from home in anger. I made a harsh statement in front of everyone. I, Lin Tian, will definitely start from scratch, not rely on my family, and make 300 million in 5 years. Now, for years have passed, and not only have I failed to achieve that ambitious goal, but I have become a penniless person living paycheck to paycheck. The millions of pocket money my parents gave me in the early years were squandered in my business ventures. My career was bleak, and my love life was doomed. My girlfriend of 2 years saw that I did not have the potential to be rich, and she was no longer willing to accompany me to eat instant noodles every day and decisively left me. I was disheartened and decided to let go of my stubbornness, accept the current situation calmly, and admit my mistakes to my father. Hi everyone, I'm so happy to see you guys back on my channel. Your subscribe and comments mean very important to me. It will encourage me to create more wonderful stories for you. So don't hesitate to share your true thoughts on this story. Thank you. Now enjoy this story. I'm a top rich second generation, and I'm showing my cards. I said to myself, self-deprecatingly, I failed in my business and lost everything, but fortunately, I made a good friend who shared hardships with me. Chen Tao. I brought my good brother Chen Tao to the door of my villa, hoping that my father would arrange a good job for him. He looked around with alert eyes and said in a low voice, "Brother, although we are poor, we can't do those sneaky things. This place can only be afforded by the rich, not by poor people like us." Hearing his words, I smiled bitterly, tidied my messy hair, and looked at the familiar, magnificent villa in front of me. Actually, I am a super rich second generation. My family has billions of assets waiting for me to inherit. My family lives here. Chen Tao's eyes widened immediately, and then he pointed at me and laughed. Come on, stop making up stories. We have known each other for so many years, and you are so poor that your pants are about to fall off. Don't I know you? If you were a rich second generation, would we still be living under the overpass? And could we still deliver food in the heavy rain every day and compete with stray dogs for food? I shook my head helplessly, too lazy to explain anymore, walked to the door and pressed the doorbell. About 20 seconds later, the carved steel door slowly opened, and standing inside was my mother, Tina, wearing a Chinese dress and looking serious. She glared at me, her tone full of reproach, her eyes already wet, and then she hugged me tightly. You little brat, how come you've lost so much weight? You must have suffered a lot outside these years. Mom misses you so much, my child. At this moment, all the repression and stubbornness of the past 4 years turned into bitterness. My eyes were wet, and when I saw my father standing behind my mother, my knees went weak, and I knelt down in front of my father, choking with sobs. Dad, I'm back. My father looked at my thin figure, and his stern face gradually softened, with tears in his eyes. He sighed with a voice of relief. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. Seeing this scene, Chen Tao, who was standing outside the gate, almost popped his eyes out. He has known me for so many years. How could he have seen such a scene? His mouth was wide open enough to fit an egg, and his mind exploded instantly. What's going on? A good brother for several years turned out to be a super rich second generation. This is more painful than killing him. We were all poor losers, wandering around the world together. Why did you suddenly come home to inherit a billion-dollar asset? Obviously, he couldn't accept this reality. At this time, I was immersed in the joy of reuniting with my family. I was secretly thinking about introducing my good brother Chen Tao to my father. But when I turned around, the boy disappeared without a trace. He was standing at the gate just now. My father looked at me and said slowly, "Since you are back, go to the Zhao group tomorrow. The engagement from 5 years ago should be settled. She is a girl and cannot afford to waste time with you. I heard that the girl is still waiting for you." Hearing this, I suddenly came to my senses. 5 years ago, I had a big fight with my family and left home in anger because I opposed this arranged marriage. Now, when my father mentioned this, I also understood that what was supposed to come would eventually come. But I don't know why my father and mother like that girl so much. What's so good about her that my father is willing to let me marry her even though she doesn't want to marry him? How can I stand firm in front of my brothers in the future? But fate cannot be defied. It's my fault that I ran away from home and have been unsuccessful in everything I do for the past 4 years. I have a bad constitution and can only accept my fate. I understand, father, I replied softly. The next morning, I rubbed my eyes and got up from the 30 million yuan golden Nama bed and stretched my body. Looking at the exquisite lake pavilion outside the window, I was filled with emotion. In this mansion full of quaint atmosphere, every detail exudes luxury and low-key nobility. I couldn't help muttering in my heart, my parents spend so much time on me, and I still go out to suffer. Isn't it good to be a rich second generation? Just as I was daydreaming, a clear electronic voice suddenly rang in my mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for binding to the most powerful Shuangwen system in history. You have one chance to open the Shuangwen prop pool for free every day. Would you like to open today's Shuangwen prop pool now? Hearing this, I was stunned for a moment, and then I couldn't help laughing. System? This kind of golden finger in the novel finally appeared on me? System, open it for me quickly and see what good things can be found today. The corners of my mouth slightly raised, my eyes fixed on the virtual panel. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the following 3 items. Please choose. 1. God-level gambling skills. After you have it, you will have God-level gambling skills, and your luck index will increase by 100% when participating in any gambling game. 2. Extraordinary driving skills. Once you have this skill, any driver will be no match for you. 3. X-ray eyes. Once you have it, you will have the ability to see through things and nothing will be hidden from your eyes. Looking at these 3 options, my eyes lit up, especially the perspective eye. Thinking about going to Zhao's group to meet my fiancée today, it's not too much to check the goods in advance, right? Thinking of this, I smiled and said, choose the perspective eye system. Chu is a serious person. Congratulations, host. The ability of the X-ray eyes is being bound. Instantly, I felt a chill in front of my eyes, and my vision began to change subtly. At this moment, the door was gently pushed open, and a mischievous little head poked in. Brother, Mom is calling you to get up and eat. It was my naughty sister, Lin Xiao. I instantly turned off the perspective function. Although this ability is amazing, it must be used with caution. While eating, my father looked up and asked with a smile, how are you going to deal with the engagement at the Zhao group today? I put down my bowl and chopsticks and said bluntly, Father, you didn't make any arrangements, did you? My father put down his chopsticks and said calmly, yes, you didn't want her 4 years ago, and she broke off the engagement. You have to handle this matter yourself. When I heard this, I was stunned. Let's cancel the engagement. Father, you can arrange a date for me with any daughter of the Wang family, the Zhang family, or the Li family. I'm not picky. I said nonchalantly, secretly feeling lucky that I finally got rid of that annoying engagement. My mother shook her head, sighed, and looked at me with a complicated look. You are dreaming. I tell you, no matter which daughter is rich, she is not as good as the girl from the Zhao family. You did something wrong 3 years ago. If you want to make up for it and pay it back, you have to get the girl from the Zhao family back to me. She's a good person. My father and I like her very much. The most important thing is that she is the only child in the Zhao family. Do you understand? What if I can't catch up with her? I asked tentatively with a slight raise of the corner of my mouth. The father's expression suddenly turned cold, and he said with a half smile, if you can't catch her, all of our billion-dollar assets will be inherited by your sister and brother. Don't even think about getting a single cent. Brother? What brother? I was stunned. There are only my sister and I at home. So where did a younger brother come from? The father coughed lightly, as if he felt that this topic was a little awkward, but he still said calmly, in the 4 years you were away, we gave birth to a younger brother for you. His name is Chu Kuan, and he is in kindergarten now. I immediately frowned when I heard this. What? Didn't you say that having me and my sister is enough for your life? And you said that you would leave all your property to us. It's true that men's mouths are full of lies. My father sneered, his tone full of ridicule. Damn, Dad, you're really awesome. You're still doing well at your age. I shook my head and couldn't help but sigh. I began to look forward to meeting my younger brother. My father looked at me, and his tone suddenly became serious. You can only blame yourself. In fact, you only saw the Zhao girl when she was a child. She was a little naughty at that time, but she is different when she grows up. She is a great beauty and smart. The people chasing her can line up all the way to England. If you were not engaged to her, it would be difficult for you to get her turn. Hearing this, I was stunned and my mind went blank. How come there is a younger brother who is fighting with me for the family property? And is that girl really that good? She is obviously not someone who can be easily messed with. Okay then, father, I understand. I said helplessly. I'll go to the Zhao group and meet the Zhao family's daughter and see if I can get her back. My father chuckled and patted my shoulder. Silly boy, that girl looks like a fairy with fair skin, beautiful face, quiet and generous. If you can really get her back, it will be worth it. I rolled my eyes at him and said jokingly, Old man, your smile is too vulgar. Go ahead, kid. My father waved his hand, signaling me to act quickly. As I walked to the door, my phone rang. I subconsciously took out my phone and saw a text message pop up on the screen. 30 million has arrived in your Kfubo account. I was stunned for a moment, then looked at my father's calm expression, and I understood immediately. His expression was calm, as if the 30 million was just pocket money for him. I sighed in my heart. Our family really has a lot of money. In the past, I thought the pocket money my family gave me was too much. When I was in school, I was given tens of thousands of yuan every month, which I felt ashamed and didn't want to spend. Now I think about it, I was really stupid. I felt a complicated feeling in my heart, and suddenly I no longer had any resistance to this mission. Walking on the road, I began to recall how rebellious I was when I left home. For years ago, in order to get rid of this engagement, I insisted on leaving home, refused to give up, and vowed to make a name for myself. But I was too young at that time and didn't understand the cruelty of reality. After 4 years of wandering and struggling, I finally experienced the ups and downs of life, was penniless, and even my friends looked down on me. Now I am no longer that high-spirited young man. I understand that in this world, without money, power, and background, you are destined to be unable to move forward. Back to reality, I stood in front of a luxury black car, and the driver had been waiting for a long time. I sighed in my heart. Since my father has paved the way, I will accept this arrangement reluctantly. Since I have money, why should I continue to suffer? 10 million out of habit, and the corners of my mouth rose unconsciously. Thinking about the past few years when I was penniless, lived a hard life, and couldn't hold my head up in front of my classmates, I really don't know if my brain was kicked by a donkey at that time. I was so stupid. Looking back now, it's ridiculous. Thanks to my father's generosity, this 10 million reward came in time. I'll go pick up girls now, and I must have children for our family. Just as I was about to leave, my mother glared at me and said unhappily, Why are you so sloppy? If you go out like this, won't it bring shame to our family? I have arranged for a stylist to be here soon. In addition, I have to go on a long trip recently, and your sister needs you to take care of her. Do you hear me? I smiled and said perfunctorily, Don't worry, Dad. I'll take care of it. I glanced at my sister Lin Xiao beside me. The little girl is only 7 years old this year. She has red lips, white teeth, and lively eyes. She is indeed very cute. After dinner, the stylist team arrived as scheduled. After more than an hour of dressing, I looked in the mirror and I have to say that my temperament and appearance have improved by several levels. Ordinary people? That is a thing of the past. Now I look like a tall, rich, and handsome man who walked out of the screen. Dad, how much does this stylist team cost? They dressed me up like a star. I couldn't help but ask. My father just smiled faintly, took out his pocket watch, and looked at it. It's getting late. Go to the garage and choose a car to drive out. The cars in the garage are all registered in your name, so you can choose anyone. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth twitched, but I still went to the garage obediently. As soon as I entered the garage, the rows of luxury cars almost blinded my eyes. Even though I was mentally prepared, I was still shocked when I saw these sky-high price cars. Just as I was stunned, the old butler behind me came over with a smile and said, Master, these are all bought specially for you. During the 4 years since you ran away from home, every time the master missed you, he would buy a car and put it in the garage. He knows that you like sports cars the most. In addition to these, there are also properties and shops all over the country, all bought by the master in your name. After hearing this, I was moved and understood my father's good intentions. No, I'll just stay at home from now on, I said half-jokingly. But I knew in my heart that my father bought all these for me not only to provide me with a living security, but also to prepare for future disputes over the family property. The housekeeper held a bunch of car keys and asked me with a smile, Master, which car are you going to drive to meet the daughter of the Zhao family? I walked quickly to a Porsche 918. The more I looked at it, the more I liked it. I couldn't help but ask, How much is this car? The butler smiled and said, "The regular model costs more than 30 million yuan, but the one in front of you was customized by the master and sold for more than 90 million yuan. Although the price has depreciated, no one buys this kind of car." The old man bought it to save your face. Spending 90 million on a car to show off? My father is too rich. Poverty really limits my imagination. I sighed in my heart and then said without hesitation, "This is it, give me the key." The moment I pressed the key, a deafening roar suddenly sounded from the underground garage, and the headlights of the Porsche 918 flashed like a beast. Listening to the low engine sound, my blood began to boil, and I thought, if I drive this car out, won't people be envious? I opened the car door, put my sister Lin Xiaoxiao in first, fastened her seatbelt, and then sat in the driver's seat. A luxury car is a luxury car. As soon as I got in, the whole world seemed to soften and the comfort was overwhelming. I couldn't help but sigh. It's so good to not have to squeeze into the subway or bus. At the same time, in the office on the top floor of Zhao Group, Zhao Min was staring at a photo in her hand, her brows slightly furrowed, and a bit of displeasure flashed in her bright eyes. The photo was of me 4 years ago, but at that time I was as fat as a ball, just over 200 pounds. Although the Zhao family has decided to cancel the engagement, they have not officially announced it. The outside world still believes that our two families are engaged. For 4 years, the two families have never stopped cooperating for the sake of profit, and they are thinking, what if the fat guy changes his mind? For ordinary people, this may not be a big deal, but for Zhao Min, it is simply an insult. She is beautiful and has a prominent family background. The people who pursue her can line up from here to Europe. But 4 years ago, I rejected her. She was so angry that her teeth itched, but she couldn't help feeling lucky. After all, she hated this kind of family marriage from the bottom of her heart and yearned for free love. Over the years, although there has never been a lack of suitors around her, no man has been able to enter her heart. She has become interested in Yi Fan, a bodyguard beside her, a tough guy who retired from the special forces, resolute and courageous, and much more reliable than those rich second generations. Just as she was deep in thought, a knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she said lightly. The secretary pushed the door open and came in. "President, someone downstairs is looking for you. They said they have an appointment for lunch with you." "What's his name?" Zhao Min asked impatiently. He said his name was Lin Tian, and he had a girl with him. "Lin Tian." Zhao Min's beautiful face suddenly became cold, and she smiled coldly. "Lin Tian, you are such a jerk. You showed up for the first time after so many years of breaking off the engagement. You even dared to bring a female companion with you when you came to see me for the first time? Are you trying to intimidate me?" She thought for a moment and said coldly, "Okay, I get it. You let them wait outside." "Humph. Lin Tian, do you think I can meet you whenever you want?" After the secretary closed the door, Zhao Min still sat at her desk, frowning, thinking about something. She picked up the phone and dialed the security room's landline. "Call Yi Fan over. I have something to talk to him about." The corners of her mouth slightly raised, revealing a playful smile, as if she had already thought of a good show. At the same time, outside in the car, Lin Xiaoxiao swung her legs, pouted, and muttered softly, "Brother, we have been waiting for 30 minutes. Why hasn't my sister-in-law come down yet?" "I'm hungry." I looked down at my watch and frowned. "Then let's go eat first." Lin Xiaoxiao tilted her head and asked in a baby voice, "Aren't we waiting for sister-in-law?" I snorted coldly with a bit of disdain in my tone. "Wait for nothing. It's been 30 minutes. Even if she is flying in the sky, she should come down. It's obvious that she doesn't want to see us. Let's not wait any longer. Besides, you are my only sister. What if she gets thin due to hunger?" Lin Xiaoxiao immediately said with a smile, "Well, brother, you are so nice to me." Just as I was about to step on the accelerator and leave, a beautiful figure suddenly walked out of the building entrance. The person was wearing a white dress, with skin as white as snow, bright eyes, and outstanding temperament. Before I could take a closer look, I couldn't help but exclaim in my heart, "What a beautiful girl!" I took a closer look and was almost frightened. WTF, isn't this my fiancée, Zhao Min? Wait, why is there a man following her? What does this mean? Does she already have a boyfriend? Isn't it a bit too much to bring a little wolf dog to see me? Zhao Min obviously recognized me at first sight and walked straight towards me. After all, not just any young person can drive such a luxury car. I pushed open the door and walked out, pretending to be calm and smiling. "Hello, Miss Zhao." Zhao Min saw me. There was a flash of doubt in her eyes. She obviously still remembered me for years ago. I was a fat guy at that time, which was totally different from the fit and handsome man in front of me. How could she know that in the past 4 years, I was so poor that I couldn't even afford to eat, and I lost weight from more than 200 kilograms to 130 kilograms? Are you Lin Tian? Zhao Min's tone was a little surprised, but her face was still expressionless, with a hint of displeasure. It seemed that she was already fed up with me. But Zhao Min was very confused. Didn't they say that Lin Tian brought a female companion? Why was it a little girl? I still kept smiling and was about to explain what happened 4 years ago, but Zhao Min interrupted me coldly. Don't mention what happened 4 years ago. I already have a boyfriend, so don't worry about the engagement. Just think of it as a joke from the elders. We can be friends. Don't think too much about it. Her words directly blocked the topic. As expected, it is better not to offend women. I felt helpless. If it were not for my father's face, with my current conditions, wouldn't I be able to catch a lot of girls if I wanted to? At this moment, the system suddenly sounded a prompt. Beep detected that the best goddess has issued a task to capture Zhao Min. She is 26 years old, 175 centimeters tall, 98 in appearance, 99 in figure, the heir of the Zhao group, 0 times in love, and has never been in a relationship. I was stunned. 0 times in love? Didn't she just say that she already had a boyfriend? I subconsciously looked at Yi Fan beside her. The two of them didn't look like a couple, but more like a superior-subordinate relationship. Could it be that this was just a shill? I secretly laughed in my heart and said, Ms. Zhao is right. Let's forget about what happened 4 years ago. After all, the relationship between two people is a lifelong thing. How can it be tied together because of interests? Zhao Min's eyes flashed with surprise. She thought I would be as reckless and impulsive as I was when we talked on the phone 4 years ago, but she didn't expect me to be so calm and rational this time, and seemed to be much more mature. She suddenly felt that this person seemed to have grown up a lot, but on the surface she remained indifferent. Then why did you come here today? I chuckled and said apologetically. I was wrong about what happened 4 years ago and made the Zhao family lose face. I came here today to apologize. I think for the sake of our cooperation, it would be nice to be friends in the future. What do you think, Miss Zhao? Zhao Min frowned slightly. She didn't expect that I spoke so tactfully. Her disgust towards me seemed to decrease a little. The system prompt sounded again. Zhao Min's favorability towards the host increased by 20. The current favorability is -80. Please continue to work hard. I was surprised. I didn't expect that a few words could improve her favorability. Seeing her hesitate, I took the opportunity to say, it's a nice day today. Why don't we have a meal together? Oh, by the way, this should be your boyfriend, right? He is really handsome. Yi Fan, who had been standing silently by the side, finally came forward, stretched out his hand and said, Hello, Mr. Lin. I extended my hand back out of politeness, but as soon as I shook it, I felt a sharp pain in my palm, as if it was clamped by a pair of pliers. I was startled. What's going on? Is he trying to show me his power? Is this guy too into the role? At this time, the system suddenly prompted. Strong hostility detected, coming from a lucky child. Slapping the lucky child in the face will earn you a lot of cool points as a reward. In an instant, I felt the blood in my body boiling, and all the strength in my body seemed to be activated. I sneered. Okay, you want to embarrass me, right? I did not show any weakness and exerted force with my hands, tightly holding Yi Fan's hand. In an instant, Yi Fan's face changed suddenly and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Obviously, he did not expect that I would suddenly exert such strength and with such great force. What's going on? How can this kid be so strong? Yi Fan thought he had a sure win, and even had a disdainful smile on his face. But soon, his smile froze on his face. No matter how hard he tried, he felt that he couldn't suppress me in terms of strength, and the pain in his palm continued to intensify. At this moment, Zhao Min noticed our clasped hands and frowned. Seeing her gaze, I immediately pretended to be in pain, my body trembling slightly and my facial muscles twitching. Ah, it hurts. Brother Yi, let me go. As I said that, I held Yi Fan's hand even harder, but on the surface I looked painful. Yi Fan was stunned for 2 seconds before he reacted, and his face turned livid. Although he was furious, he could only grit his teeth and remain calm for the sake of face, pretending that nothing had happened. Yi Fan, let go. Don't hurt Lin Tian. Zhao Min shouted coldly. Yi Fan felt even more depressed. The person he wanted to let go of the most was actually himself. But his hand was firmly controlled by me, and he couldn't break free at all. He could only hold on. I showed an even more painful expression on my face and pretended to be helpless and said, Brother Yi, it seems that there is no grudge between us, right? Let go quickly, it hurts. At this moment, a childish voice suddenly rang out. Let my brother go. Lin Xiaoxiao anxiously opened the car door, rushed to Yi Fan, and bit his arm with her mouth. Yi Fan was stunned by the bite, and I let go of his hand. Little girl, you... There was a flash of anger in Yi Fan's eyes, but he couldn't get angry at the child. Little sister, it's okay. I don't feel any pain. I looked at Lin Xiaoxiao's anxious look, my heart warmed, and I said to her with a smile, Brother, is your hand really okay? Lin Xiaoxiao said with a tearful tone, holding my hand and blowing gently. It's okay. It's really okay. I rubbed her little head gently, and my heart loved this sister more and more. Xiaomin saw this scene. She felt a little guilty. She glared at Yifan fiercely and said coldly, Go back. I don't need you to follow me today. Yifan's face was stiff. He lowered his head silently, but he gritted his teeth in his heart. His dissatisfaction and murderous intent towards me deepened. After the meal, Xiaomin looked calm, with a hint of smile in her eyes, and seemed to be in a much better mood. She took the initiative to say, Today's meal was quite good. But she seemed to look at me with some curiosity and asked, You didn't seem to eat much just now. Is it not to your liking? I smiled and shook my head. Actually, the food here is not bad, but if there is a chance, I will take you to a place where the food is what I consider to be delicious. My words instantly aroused Zhao Min's curiosity. As a food lover, she was obviously very interested in the delicious I mentioned. After chatting for a while, I called the waiter to come over to settle the bill. The waiter handed over the bill and said sweetly, Mr. Chu, the total consumption today is 120,000. I turned to Lin Xiaoxiao and asked, Little sister, what dishes do you like to eat? Show them to me. The little girl replied with a smile, Brother, I like all the dishes here. I snapped my fingers and said with a smile, Since my sister likes it, I'll order another portion of each dish and take it away. By the way, do you have takeout service here? Can you deliver it to my house? The waiter nodded immediately and handed over a business card. We provide door-to-door service. You can bring the chef and ingredients with you. This is my business card. Please feel free to contact me if you need anything. I took out my black gold card and handed it over. Swipe it. At this time, the system prompt sounded quietly. The beautiful waitress has a good impression of the host, and the pleasure point value has increased by 99 points. I laughed in my heart. What a pleasant surprise. A mere waiter can provide so many refreshing points. Then, the system sounded another reminder. Zhao Min's favorability towards the host has increased by 20 points. The current favorability is negative 30. Please keep up the good work, host. Zhao Min checked the time and said calmly, Master Chu, I have an important meeting this afternoon. Let's stop here today. I nodded. Okay, let's make an appointment later. When I left, I saw that her expression seemed to have softened a lot, and I couldn't help but feel a little proud. Although Zhao Min still had a prejudice against me, the ice wall in her heart was gradually melting. At this moment, the system prompt sounded again in my mind. The capture of Zhao Min is just around the corner. In the evening, I made an appointment with my friend Linda. Sitting in the bar, Linda looked a little depressed. Seeing her expression, I deliberately teased her. Are you in a bad mood? Did you break up? Linda's eyes flashed with surprise. How do you know? Are you a psychologist? I smiled faintly and pretended to be mysterious and said, Judging from the way you were dressed, your family should not be short of money. The only thing that would make you not go to high-end places and come here to drink alone is probably a breakup. Linda smiled helplessly and nodded. You guessed right, I was dumped. In fact, this is my first time in love. I got close to a girl in a game some time ago, but I didn't expect that she suddenly disappeared after we met. When I heard this, my heart skipped a beat, and I couldn't help but think back to my failed online love experience a few days ago. Could it be? This is such a coincidence? After hearing what Linda said, I hurriedly asked, What's wrong? What happened to you? Linda raised a self-deprecating smile, shook her head, and called the waiter to order 2 bottles of beer. Then, she tilted her head back and took a big gulp, a little drunken with long-suppressed pain in her voice. He thought I was too pretty, said he was not worthy of me, and didn't want to delay me. And then he ended our relationship in the game. I was playing games alone in the hotel that day, and my heart was broken. I really don't mind his appearance or family background. I just like the way he plays games. Hearing this, I was stunned and smiled bitterly in my heart. This is too coincidental, right? A few days ago, I just broke up with my online lover. The reason was very simple. My career was at a low point at the time, and the other party had a prominent family background and outstanding appearance. I thought she approached me because she knew my identity, so I broke up with her outright. But now, listening to Linda's words, it turns out that she is really a love-brained person. I didn't know how to comfort her for a moment, and could only watch Linda drink and vent her emotions. Linda took another big gulp of beer and said softly, a little drunk, "Don't you think I'm too stupid? I dated an online friend for 3 years, but I didn't even take advantage of the opportunity to meet him." I was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "You can never force love. Maybe he really feels that he is not worthy of you and doesn't want to drag you down. Maybe you have met someone who truly cares about you." Linda lowered her head and smiled foolishly, tears in her eyes. "What about you? How many times have you been in love? What do you think?" Before she finished her words, the door of the box was suddenly pushed open, and a young woman in a white gauze dress walked in. She stopped as soon as she entered the door, and I was also stunned. "Xiaomin? Lin Tian." The two exclaimed almost at the same time. "Xiaomin sighs." I smiled and joked. "It turns out to be Miss Zhao. Long time no see." Xiaomin frowned and said unhappily, "We just met at noon. It's not like we haven't seen each other for a long time. You are so smooth-talking." At this moment, Lin Xiaoxiao suddenly looked up and shouted excitedly, "Hey, sister-in-law! It's sister-in-law!" These words came out. Linda sobered up a bit. She looked at Zhao Min and me with wide eyes and said, "You know each other?" Zhao Min nodded and lowered her voice and said, "He is the heir of the Lin group that I mentioned to you, Lin Tian." Linda's mouth opened wide. "Didn't you say he was a fat guy?" I touched my nose awkwardly. Well, Lin was indeed a little fat 4 years ago, but he lost weight later. I couldn't help but laugh in my heart. I didn't expect that Linda's best friend would actually be my fiancé. What a small world this is. I smiled and said, "Since we are all acquaintances, why don't we sit down and have a midnight snack together?" After that, I asked the waiter to bring some seafood. Linda's face gradually turned red, and she waved her hands awkwardly and said, "Nothing. Just forget what I said." She wished she could find a hole in the ground to crawl into. Fortunately, Xiaomin appeared in time. Otherwise, she would be so embarrassed if she really said, "What do you think of me?" The atmosphere was a little awkward during the meal. Xiaomin seemed to be a little wary of what I said, and was obviously not used to my proactive attitude. "By the way, Miss Zhao, didn't you bring your boyfriend here today?" I couldn't help but ask, testing her attitude. As soon as the words fell, Linda instantly became interested. "What? Xiaomin, you are in love? Why didn't you tell me before? Who is the handsome guy? He must be a very handsome guy if you like him." Xiaomin's expression changed slightly, and she forced a smile and said, "I'll tell you later. It's not convenient now." Half an hour later, after having supper, Xiaomin and Linda left together. I breathed a sigh of relief, and as soon as I got home, I sent a friend request to Linda and chatted with her all night, doing psychological counseling work. The next morning, as soon as I woke up, I sent Linda a message. "Good morning. Have you had breakfast?" Linda received the message. She smiled sweetly. Zhao Min, who was sitting in the passenger seat, saw Linda's happy look and couldn't help asking, "Who is it who sent you a message and smiled so happily?" Be careful not to be deceived, because there is no good man nowadays. Linda replied to my message while smiling and saying, "No, he is not that kind of person." Hearing this, Zhao Min became even more curious and asked quickly, "Who is it? Tell me quickly. I'll help you see if he's a reliable person." Linda was silent for a moment and suddenly said seriously, "Xiao Min, what do you think? If I like a man who is a few years younger than me and whose family is rich and powerful, should I confess my feelings to him?" Zhao Min was shocked. "No way, Linda. Are you crazy about her too? Don't joke. I'm serious." Linda said seriously. Zhao Min restrained her smile and nodded. "If you really like him and he is worthy of trust, then why not say it? There is nothing shameful in taking the initiative." Linda was still a little hesitant and muttered, "But we've only known each other for a day. Wouldn't it be too unreserved to confess right away?" Xiaomin couldn't help but burst out laughing when she heard this. "You still know this? You've only known him for one day, and you've fallen in love with him? Who is he to make you so obsessed with him?" Linda held the phone with a complicated expression and remained silent. At this moment, Xiaomin seemed to have suddenly thought of something. Her face changed instantly, and she stepped on the brakes suddenly. The car stopped on the side of the road with a harsh braking sound. She turned her head, widened her eyes in disbelief, and exclaimed, "The person you like, can it be Lin Tian?" Linda was startled by the sudden brakes and almost dropped her phone. She hesitated for a second, her face flushed quickly, her eyes flickered, and she didn't dare to look Zhao Min in the eye. Are you really Lin Tian? Zhao Min's voice was already a little out of control. She had never expected that the person Linda was thinking about would be Lin Tian. Linda was completely panicked now and quickly waved her hands, trying to cover up her inner panic. Xiao Min, it's not what you think. I just thought he was quite interesting and didn't think too much about it. Zhao Min looked like she had seen through her tone revealing a bit of mockery. Interesting? Linda, don't lie to me. You are obviously in love with him. She paused, her eyes became more complicated. Do you know who he is? He's the fiancé my family arranged for me, although we have broken off the engagement. You like him, don't you feel embarrassed? Linda lowered her head, tightly grasping the phone, and said in a voice as low as a mosquito's hum, I know you broke off the engagement, and you said you didn't like him. At this point, her voice became even lower. If you don't like him, why can't you give me a chance? Zhao Min's heart skipped a beat when she heard this. She had always thought that her relationship with Lin Tian was just a family arrangement, and there was no emotional bond between them. She even thought that her complicated feelings for Lin Tian were not important at all. However, Linda's words were like a mirror, reflecting all the resentment and bitterness deep in her heart. I don't like him, Zhao Min said with difficulty. But when she said this, she felt an inexplicable blockage in her chest. She didn't understand why she felt so awkward. This was someone she had never looked at directly, but at this moment, she felt a little lost in her heart. The air in the car suddenly became quiet, and the atmosphere became a little heavy. Linda bit her lip and whispered, If you really don't like him, I'm willing to try to get close to him. We just met. Maybe we can develop. Zhao Min was stunned for a moment, then slapped the steering wheel hard and said coldly, Okay, go ahead and try. Go after him if you dare. After saying this, she suddenly stepped on the accelerator and the car shot out like an arrow. Linda was so scared that she grabbed the seat belt tightly and didn't dare to say another word. For a moment, both of them fell silent. Zhao Min's mind was in a mess, and she was in a very irritable mood. She didn't know why she cared so much about Lin Tian's affairs, and Linda also felt an indescribable pressure in her heart. She knew very well that she and Zhao Min had a good relationship. If she really crossed the line emotionally, I'm afraid their friendship would end. But Linda also understood that she had no control over her feelings. Linda, Zhao Min suddenly spoke after a while, her tone much calmer, but full of warning. You have to understand that Lin Tian is not an ordinary person. The family behind him is complicated and involves many vested interests. This is not a casual relationship. You'd better think it over carefully before you speak. Linda nodded. The complex emotions in her heart made her speechless. She knew that Zhao Min was right. Lin Tian was not just an ordinary man. He was the heir of the Lin group, with a huge family power behind him. They were not a good match, but even so, she couldn't help but be moved by him. When the car stopped downstairs of her house, Linda hesitated for a few seconds and finally mustered up the courage to ask, Xiao Min, do you really not mind that I like Lin Tian? Zhao Min leaned on the steering wheel, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. If you think he is right for you, then go after him. I won't stop you. Linda glanced at her and nodded slightly, feeling conflicted and relieved. When she got off the car, her finger gently slid across the screen of her phone, wanting to ask Lin Tian to go to the beach with her tomorrow. But she glanced at the direction where Zhao Min drove away